Gerald Genta changed everything in the 1970s. His revolutionary designs, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak in 1972, the Patek Philippe Nautilus in 1976, and the IWC Ingenieur, created an entirely new category of luxury sports watches that fused elegance with functionality through seamless integrated bracelets. Those original masterpieces now trade for astronomical sums, but their influence sparked the modern renaissance. Today's market offers compelling alternatives that capture that same design DNA without requiring the mortgage-level investments. From passionate micro brands to established Swiss manufacturers, the sub-$1,000 space has never been more exciting. Sure, the market is saturated with homages, and integrated bracelet fatigue is very real. We definitely get it. But the best examples in this $1,000 price range deliver impressive finishing, thoughtful design, and that coveted integrated bracelet presence at prices that actually make sense for the majority of watch enthusiasts. It's worth noting that while all these watches feature integrated bracelet styling, only a few are truly integrated, meaning the bracelet cannot be removed for regular strap options. Most offer the integrated aesthetic while maintaining strap versatility through quick-release systems. And for reference, all watches are shown on our wearer's 6.75-inch wrist. So without further ado, let's get into it. When Citizen launched the Tsuyosa in 2022, it became an instant hit and one of the brand's best sellers, though it hasn't achieved quite the same cult status as the Tissot PRX. That's a shame because this might be the most underrated value proposition in the affordable integrated bracelet space. Named after the Japanese word for strength, the Tsuyosa draws inspiration from Citizen's own NH299 series from the late 90s, a throwback that feels refreshingly honest rather than derivative. The design centers around one key detail that sets it apart from every other watch in this category: the crown positioned at the 4 o'clock instead of the usual 3. Some find this asymmetrical placement jarring, but we'd argue it's genius. A flush-mounted crown at 4 o'clock creates less visual disruption than a protruding crown at 3, and it dramatically improves wrist comfort. Originally only available in 40mm, Citizen wisely added this 37mm version earlier this year, recognizing that not everyone wanted a larger watch. At 37mm wide, 43mm lug-to-lug, and 11.5mm thick, it strikes an ideal balance for smaller wrists while still maintaining presence thanks to the barrel-shaped case design. The proportions are spot on, avoiding the chunky look that plagues some downsized watches. The case finishing punches above its weight, with alternating brushed and polished surfaces creating nice visual interest, while the integrated 3-link bracelet features polished center links, flanked by brushed outer sections. Yes, the stamped clasp and looser tolerances will remind you that this isn't a $2,000 watch, but the overall execution is impressive for the price point. That gorgeous ice blue dial is the real showstopper here. It's a sunray brushed finish that shifts from deep teal to brilliant turquoise depending on the light. Applied hour markers and generous lume application add dimensionality, while the Cyclops magnified date window at 3 o'clock rounds out the look. Many critics have written this watch off as nothing more than a date-just homage, and to be fair, the Tsuyosa wears its Rolex inspiration on its sleeve, Cyclops date, polished center links, and all. But Citizen's take makes it look more accessible, blending that familiar dress sport style with its own Japanese sensibility. Inside beats the Miyota 8215, rebadged as Citizen Caliber 8210, a bulletproof workhorse movement with 42-hour power reserve and hacking seconds. Since Citizen owns Miyota, this technically qualifies as in-house, and the movement's industrial brass finish visible through the exhibition caseback has a certain utilitarian charm. At just around $400, the Tsuyosa delivers automatic movement, sapphire crystal, and genuinely appealing design for significantly less than the Swiss alternatives. It may not have the PRX's marketing muscle, but it deserves serious consideration for anyone seeking accessible mechanical luxury. When discussing affordable integrated bracelet watches, most enthusiasts immediately think of the usual suspects, names like the aforementioned Tissot PRX or even the Tsuyosa. But New York City-based Brew Watches has taken a completely different approach with their metric retro dial. And honestly, it's refreshing to see a micro brand carve out its own identity rather than chasing Gerald Genta's shadow. Founded by industrial designer Jonathan Ferrer in 2015, Brew centers its entire philosophy around coffee culture, and the brand does a great job with execution, feeling restrained and purposeful rather than another gimmicky concept. At 36mm wide by 41.5mm lug-to-lug, the metric initially sounds tiny on paper, but the square case shape creates an optical illusion that makes it wear closer to 40mm corner to corner. The cushion-style case flows seamlessly into an aggressively tapered integrated bracelet that goes from 26mm at the case down to 16mm at the clasp. The dial is where things get interesting, and the coffee culture really comes into focus here. That matte black background serves as a canvas for the asymmetrical subdials and the watch's party trick, a yellow sector between 25 and 35 seconds on the chapter ring, representing the ideal extraction time for espresso shots. The case finishing definitely punches well above its weight class. Brushed surfaces dominate, but polished chamfers down to the case sides and around the thin, TV-shaped bezel add some nice visual interest. The recessed, circular-grained subdials and mirror polish hour markers create genuine depth that's impressive for the price point. Powering everything is the Seiko VK68 Mecha Quartz movement, essentially a quartz timekeeping module with a mechanical chronograph section. This gives you that satisfying snap back to zero reset and crisp pusher feel of a mechanical chrono, but with quartz reliability. The chronograph hand sweeps smoothly at 1/5 second intervals, while the running seconds at 9 o'clock ticks away normally. The integrated bracelet uses quick-release tabs for easy strap changes, though there is a quirk here. The actual lug width is slightly smaller than the advertised 20mm, which can complicate aftermarket strap selection, though we'd recommend keeping the factory bracelet for that integrated style look. At just 10.75mm thick, the metric is properly svelte for a chronograph, making it an excellent daily driver. The 50-meter water resistance is a reminder that this isn't a sports watch, it's a lifestyle piece. For just under $500, Brew has created something genuinely unique in the integrated bracelet space. While everyone else is rehashing 1970s Genta designs, the metric feels like it could have come from a parallel universe where coffee culture, not maritime inspiration, drove sports watch design. It's quirky, well executed, and it's refreshingly original. At this point, the PRX needs no introduction. Heavily inspired by the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the brand has leaned into that inspiration, and the result is arguably the most successful, affordable integrated bracelet watch of the modern era. The PRX story begins with Tissot's own 1978 Sea Star Quartz watch, making this a legitimate revival rather than a shameless homage. When Tissot launched the Quartz PRX in 2021, it became an instant cult classic. This Powermatic 80 version followed, adding automatic movement credibility to an already winning formula. At 40mm wide, 44.6mm lug-to-lug, and 10.93mm thick, the proportions hit that sweet spot for most wrists, though the integrated bracelet does make it wear slightly larger than the numbers suggest. The case finishing is exceptional for the price. Predominantly brushed surfaces with polished highlights on the bezel and case edges create visual depth that feels far more expensive than the $775 price tag would suggest. That blue dial is the real showstopper. The waffle pattern isn't trying to be subtle about its royal oak inspiration, but somehow it still works. The texture shifts beautifully in changing light, creating depth without being overly dramatic. Applied baton markers with lume and matching hands keep things legible, while the date window at 3 o'clock maintains proportion perfectly. The integrated bracelet deserves special praise. It's genuinely one of the best executed pieces in this price range. Starting at 27mm at the lugs and tapering to 17.5mm at the clasp, the links feel substantial without being chunky. The butterfly clasp with dual push buttons operates with surprising precision. And while there are quick-release spring bars present, we found them a bit difficult to operate without the use of a tool. Inside beats the ETA-based Powermatic 80 movement with its impressive 80-hour power reserve and anti-magnetic Nivacron hairspring. Being part of the Swatch Group gives Tissot access to high-quality ETA movements at advantageous pricing, a benefit passed directly to consumers. The cultural impact can't be ignored either. This watch broke out of enthusiast circles into mainstream consciousness, appearing everywhere from NBA games to subway commutes. When Klay Thompson was spotted wearing a gold PRX, social media initially mistook it for a Vacheron Constantin 222, which says a lot about the wrist presence. At well under $1,000, the PRX Powermatic 80 delivers Swiss automatic movement, sapphire crystal, 100-meter water resistance, and excellent build quality. It's become the gateway drug for countless new collectors, and for good reason. This is simply one of the best value propositions in all of watchmaking. When your own corporate sibling dominates a category, what do? If you're Certina, you take a completely different approach. While the Tissot PRX leans heavily into its 70s sports watch ancestry, the DS7 opts for a sleeker, more contemporary interpretation of the integrated bracelet formula. Certina has been quietly building one of the most compelling lineups in affordable Swiss watchmaking, particularly with their dive watches. The DS7 represents their entry into the integrated bracelet space, and they've wisely avoided creating a PRX clone, despite sharing the same Swatch Group ownership and Powermatic 80 movement. At 39mm wide and just 9.94mm thick, with a 45.2mm lug-to-lug, The DS7 is notably more compact than most competitors while still maintaining some solid wrist presence. The case shape is distinctly rounder and less angular than the PRX, creating a more refined aesthetic that bridges sport and dress watch territory. Crown guards add a modern touch without feeling overdone, and the integrated bracelet flows more seamlessly into the case than many alternatives. The dial execution varies dramatically across the 6 available configurations. Our black dial version features subtle sunray finishing and applied markers filled with superluminova, creating some nice depth. The date window positioning at 3 o'clock works well enough, though it doesn't achieve the perfect balance of the PRX's layout. Where things get interesting is the variety of finishes available. If you're willing to stretch the budget just beyond the $1,000 price point, Certina offers a titanium bracelet version, something few brands offer with integrated bracelet watches at this price point. As with the PRX, the Powermatic 80 movement with Nivacron hairspring provides 80-hour power reserve and solid timekeeping performance. Quick-release spring bars make strap changes effortless, though the butterfly clasp won't win any awards for comfort or adjustability. We will say, Certina's challenge isn't quality here. The finishing and overall execution are excellent for the price. For us, it's differentiation. The DS7 is undeniably more refined and arguably better proportioned than the PRX, but it does lack its Swatch brethren's bold personality and cultural cachet. Still, at just under $1,000, the DS7 represents solid value. It's a watch for those who appreciate the integrated bracelet aesthetic, but prefer subtlety over statement making. Whether that's enough to carve out market share remains to be seen. Here's where things get interesting in the affordable integrated bracelet space. Most micro brands chase the obvious Gerald Genta hits, the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, but Swedish brand Maen went deep into horological history and pulled out something most collectors have never heard of. The 1975 Vacheron Constantin Chronometer Royal, reference 2215. This obscure reference preceded VC's famous 222 by 2 years and featured remarkably similar design language to what Maen created with the Manhattan 37. The story goes that founder Sebastian Cortion desperately wanted one of these rare VC pieces but found them impossible to acquire, so he made his own. Now, whether this origin story is marketing mythology or a genuine passion project, the result speaks for itself. At 37mm wide, 9.3mm thick, and 47mm lug-to-lug, the Manhattan 37 proves that 1970s watchmakers understood proportions better than most modern brands. The size feels just right on the wrist. That vertically striped Côte de Genève dial is spectacular. In subdued lighting, it's subtle and refined, but blast it with direct light and it transforms into something that's truly stunning in person. The pattern creates depth and visual interest that most watches at this price simply can't match. The integrated style bracelet construction includes an interesting vintage correct detail. It's connected to the case via 4 screws into the case back, exactly how they did in the 70s. While you can still fit regular straps, the screw connection adds some authenticity to the design. The gradual taper uses properly sized individual links rather than cost-cutting shortcuts, and the brushed finish with polished chamfers shows real attention to detail. Inside beats the Sellita SW200-1 automatic movement, delivering reliable Swiss timekeeping with proven serviceability. At $925, Maen has created something genuinely special, a watch that honors forgotten horological history while delivering Swiss-made quality that rivals competitors charging twice the price. Sometimes the best ideas come from listening to your customers. Christopher Ward fans had been demanding a 38mm version of the 12 for years, and when it finally arrived, it proved they were absolutely right. This is the Goldilocks size that makes one of the best value integrated bracelet watches even better. Christopher Ward has never been shy about their inspiration. The 12 openly references 1970s icons like the Royal Oak and Nautilus, complete with a playful nod via 6 exposed screws on the 12-sided caseback. But rather than creating a shameless copy, they've developed something with some personality and their own design language baked in. The 12-sided bezel gives the watch its name and creates a subtle scalloped profile that's immediately recognizable. At 38mm wide, 9.95mm thick, and 43.3mm lug-to-lug, the proportions are spot on for virtually any wrist size. The case finishing is exceptional. Sandblasting, polishing, and linear brushing across different surfaces create visual complexity that rivals much more expensive watches. That 3-dimensional pyramid dial is brilliant, referencing Christopher Ward's twin flag logo while creating endless light play as your wrist moves. The Nordic blue variant shown here is particularly striking, deep enough to read as proper blue, but with subtle variations that prevent monotony. Applied indices with diamond polished facets and superluminova fill add both legibility and a nice touch of luxury. The integrated bracelet tapers beautifully from 23mm to 17mm, using individual solid links rather than folded construction. The butterfly clasp includes Christopher Ward's excellent micro-adjustment system, 1.5mm per side for 3mm of total adjustment, solving the biggest complaint about most integrated bracelets. Quick release functionality also means easy strap swaps without tools. Inside beats the Sellita SW200-1, essentially an ETA 2824-2 clone that's become the gold standard for affordable Swiss movements. With 38-hour power reserve, hacking seconds, and proven reliability, it's exactly what this watch needs. The exhibition caseback lets you admire the decorated rotor with its subtle finishing touches. At $1,225, the 1238mm represents extraordinary value in the integrated bracelet space. The finishing quality, attention to detail, and thoughtful design touches really feel premium here. Christopher Ward proved that listening to customers and executing with passion can create something really special. This might be the best sub-$2,000 integrated bracelet watch available today. Here's something a bit different in the integrated bracelet space. Alpina has taken their successful Alpiner Extreme design and created a completely new quartz variant that's smaller, more affordable, and aimed at a unisex market. The brand thoughtfully reinterpreted their outdoor-inspired aesthetic rather than simply swapping movements. The dimensions tell the story immediately. While Alpina's automatic Alpiner Extreme models measure 39 to 41mm and target adventure seekers, this quartz variant comes in at 34 by 35mm and just 8.35mm thick with a 40.6mm lug-to-lug, making it one of the most compact integrated bracelet watches available. The cushion case shape and triangular design language remain, but everything is scaled for broader appeal here. That signature triangular dial pattern sets us apart from every other integrated bracelet watch on the market. Instead of the usual waffle or tapestry textures borrowed from Genta designs, Alpina created something that references their mountain heritage instead. The technical triangle motif adds some nice visual interest while maintaining excellent legibility through applied markers filled with white lume. And the red triangle counterweight on the second hand provides Alpina's signature branding touch without being overwhelming. The AL220 Swiss Quartz movement delivers 45-month battery life and typical quartz accuracy, making this ideal for active lifestyles where convenience trumps mechanical romance. Water resistance to 100 meters keeps things practical, while the three-part case construction maintains structural integrity. Priced at $1,295 for the seal bracelet makes it significantly more accessible than mechanical alternatives, and the Alpiner Extreme Quartz is further proof that integrated bracelets can still break free from the 1970s luxury sports watch template. Okay, speaking of sports watch templates, let's address the elephant in the room immediately. Yes, the F77 looks remarkably similar to the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. The octagonal bezel with visible screws, the basket weave dial pattern, the integrated bracelet, the design language is unmistakable, but there's certainly some crucial context to consider. This watch does have legitimate heritage. The original Nivada F77 debuted in 1977, part of that extraordinary era when everyone was chasing Gerald Genta's revolutionary integrated bracelet formula. While brands like AP, Patek, and IWC were creating icons, smaller Swiss companies like Nivada were developing their own interpretations. The F77 represents authentic 1970s design DNA, not modern opportunism. Today's F77 is a faithful reissue of that 1977 original, scaled down slightly from 38mm to 37mm for modern wrists. At 12.6mm thick and 45mm lug-to-lug, the proportions are spot on for contemporary taste. The compact size makes this one of the most wearable integrated bracelet watches available, suitable for virtually any wrist. That basket weave dial does deserve some special attention. The carbon effect pattern creates three-dimensional depth, shifting from dark edges to lighter centers, depending on lighting conditions. Applied markers and baton hands maintain excellent legibility, while subtle lume application keeps things practical without overwhelming the design. The Soprod P024 movement, based on the ETA 2824-1, provides reliable 38-hour power reserve and 4 Hz operation. While not groundbreaking, this proven Swiss caliber ensures long-term serviceability and dependable performance. As with most Nivada Grenchen watches, build quality consistently impresses, with proper case finishing, aligned bezel screws, and solid bracelet construction. The integrated 3-link bracelet flows naturally from the case, featuring a double push-to-point clasp with micro-adjustment holes. At $1,360, the F77 is the most expensive watch on our guide, and it's just over that $1,000 price threshold. And while the Royal Oak similarities will always invite comparisons, the F77 succeeds on its own merits: excellent proportions, quality construction, and genuine vintage inspiration. Nivada produces only about 4,000 watches annually, making the F77 an exclusive timepiece as well. Whether that justifies the premium over mass-market alternatives depends on how much you value authenticity and rarity in the affordable integrated bracelet space. So there you have it, our picks for the best affordable integrated bracelet watches around the $1,000 price point. From the quirky coffee-inspired Brew metric to the heritage-rich Nivada Grenchen F77, each watch delivers some luxury presence without the luxury price tag. The message is clear: great design doesn't require a six-figure budget anymore. These watches capture that coveted Gerald Genta aesthetic while adding their own personality. Sure, purists will always reach for the originals, but for the rest of us who actually want to wear our watches daily without panic attacks, these represent the sweet spot of accessible luxury. Quality movements, solid construction, and designs that turn heads. As always, this is just a small cross-section of our favorites in the affordable integrated bracelet space. Let us know which one caught your eye, and if there are any affordable integrated bracelet watches we missed in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.